Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Grand Haven, Michigan regular City Council meeting of December 5th, 2022. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Fritz,
Here.
Lowe,
Here.
McLaughlin,
Here.
Cummins,
Here?
McNally.
Here. Would folks please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, the first item of business is a new appointment to a board or commission. And in this case, it's Craig Zisk to the Board of Review with a term ending June 30th, 2025. Could I get a motion to that effect?
So move. And support.
Motion by McLaughlin, second by Fritz. Any discussion?
Well qualified.
Yeah, I well qualified is right, and I'd just like to thank him for volunteering for what is a pretty technical board for our city. He's extremely well qualified, and I'm grateful that he stepped up. So, would the clerk please call the roll?
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. At this time, I would entertain a motion to accept the consent and regular agendas.
So moved.
Support?
Motion by Fritz, second by Lowe. Is there a discussion?
I wonder if we can remove the council meeting schedule for next year. Just want to discuss April a little bit. Let's move that under new business.
Yep. And I had some questions about regular meeting minutes on November 7th. I can discuss them now, or we can move them to new business. You guys got a preference?
You can go now.
Okay, is that all right? Rehabilitation District, the votes. Mike Fritz apparently voted twice, and I didn't get to vote. So it shows Lowe, Fritz, McLaughlin, and Cummins in favor, and Fritz opposed, but that was actually McNally. His name was misspelled, and I would like it corrected for the record if we could do that. And the third thing was in summarizing and this is there's a semantics issue maybe, and there's also, I think, a council preference issue, and I guess I'd like us to discuss both if we can. If you look at both the first and second calls to the audience, if you remember, we had a number of people who came in and talked both in support and in opposition to what I would have called summer downtown street closures, but which Maria, the clerk, has characterized as downtown outdoor dining. I think that doesn't capture what folks came in to talk about, and I think it has the potential to leave the impression that if you don't close the streets, you can't have downtown dining, and I don't think that's accurate. And part of what's, I think, has been happening just because of I think we need to be precise about what we both reflect in the minutes and and what we talk about, because I've had people come up to me thinking the social district is the closed-off area on the first block of Washington, and it just gets a little bit complicated. So I would propose that rather than said commented on downtown outdoor dining, those people came in to comment on downtown summer street closures. That's the first question. And do you guys have a preference on that?
No, I understand that. It's a little bit more specific and probably
Okay.
accurate. That's
All right. Then the next question is, and this is, Maria and I have talked about this, and basically what she said is that, and you can speak up anytime, Maria, but that in associations she belongs to that are clerk associations, they recommend against making any they they want to generally comment on, or generally summarize what they've commented on, but not say whether they were opposed or in support of. Is that fair?
Correct.
And the reason would be,
The reason is so that citizens won't come to council at a later date saying we misrepresented what they said in a meeting.
okay. And I think we all largely were here for that meeting. I think we all were here for that meeting, so we know what was said. But when I went in to talk to her about it this morning, I said, why don't we say they were in support or in opposition of? And that was the answer she gave. I think it's our preference as a council whether we would prefer or not prefer to put that information in. So does anyone have any insight on that or anything they'd like considered?
Your Honor, on the other boards, private boards that I've been a part of, that has also been the case.
For minutes?
For minutes, to not reflect that for obvious reasons, for obvious reasons. And so I support the
Maria's
city
position?
clerk's position.
Okay, Ryan, say?
Yeah, I think the challenge is that, sometimes people may be raising pros and cons. Sometimes folks may be asking questions and are saying, we want to make sure that you look at this, but you don't really know what position they're necessarily taking. And so it's hard to always know, if we're obviously receiving the comments. I get that minutes are long lasting, but, we also record our meetings, and to my knowledge, all of them that have been recorded are still there going back several years. So if folks really want to know, it's there somewhere. So,
Okay.
but-
Kevin?
No, I agree.
I agree. I've been on a few boards also, and it was just generalized, all we put in there. A lot of our minutes, you don't go into full detail. You just put the comments a little bit, but not a whole lot, because you don't know what people, how they take it sometimes, so
Okay,
I agree.
so what I am getting, and I'll just make sure I'm accurate, and Maria will change it if we choose, commented on downtown summer street closures would be more accurate than downtown outdoor dining.
I think if that was the person who was talking about that, if they're talking about the street closures, that's what we should have, but you don't need to go any full detail
Yep.
about.
Got it.
I agree.
Kevin?
I'm good.
Brian and Karen?
Yeah, I don't,
Because you don't want to.
Yeah, I think, I don't recall, I do recall some people speaking about both, like, I support the outdoor dining, but maybe not so I don't know if you might include both statements that they commented. I don't know, I'd have to go back to the recording, but as to who, but maybe we say downtown street closures and outdoor dining, because that would be more of an all-inclusive.
You want to put both? It
Yeah,
doesn't
it doesn't
matter.
matter.
Yeah, I don't feel
Okay,
super
I-
strongly.
I'm all right with that too,
just
and
for
Maria and I
accuracy.
discussed that as a possibility.
Social district, I mean,
Yeah.
It does get
Yeah.
yeah.
It does
complicated.
get complicated, it does get, confusing at times for some people.
So Maria, in the minutes,
That's all.
place both, is that all right? Okay, good, thank you. All right. So we have a motion, to accept the consent and regular agendas except for, I'm sorry, Ryan, can you say it again?
removing the council schedule for 2023 to new business.
Council schedule for 2023 to new business. Could you call the roll, Maria?
Councilmember Fritz,
Yes?
Lowe,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. All right. This is the first call to the audience. At this time, members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address and will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to call in may dial 616-935-3285. If it continues ringing, please remain on the line until your turn. We will take all callers. And for those of you who may be here for the Beech Tree Economic Development District, you can make your comments now, but there's going to be a public hearing, and you can make your comments at that time as well. And I'll make sure I flag it if that's what you're here to talk about. So That being said, would anyone like to address council?
Hi, Doug Vance, 100 Washington. Apologize for not being at the last council meeting. I was out of town for Thanksgiving. To clear up, I'm here to talk about parking, but before I talk about that, to clear up the confusion, all we have to do is have you folks all vote to keep the streets open downtown, and then that keeps all the confusion out of the question, because we'll just be talking about
Nice try.
downtown dining. But regarding the parking issue, and I apologize for, continuing to come and do this, but I promised my tenants that I'd continue to show up until something was done. And to my knowledge, I've heard rumors about different things and so on, but nobody has communicated anything to me that anything has been done, so I'm going to continue to show up and talk about it. I do know that, and you may or may not know, that now the 3-hour signs that were in the middle of the parking lot behind the copper posts have now been taken down. And that's to make it easier for them to plow during the winter. My suggestion would be they just don't put them back up and the situation is solved. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
Good evening, councilmen and women. My name is Jody Buttery, and my personal address is 523 South Dispelder, and my business address, which is why I'm coming here, is 326 North Ferry Street. So I am here representing the Adult-Free Medical and Dental Clinic at Love in Action, and we serve uninsured and those who are not able to afford medical care 18 years or older. And the reason I'm coming is just to present awareness for our services. And I'm specifically talking about the medical clinic this evening. We are staffed by licensed professionals. We have partnerships in the Tri-Cities that we can offer lab testing, x-rays, and referrals to specialists for those adults in our community who do not have that ability to get care. Why is that important? Because there are over 4,000 people in the Tri-Cities that do not have insurance, and 1 in 5 adults in Ottawa County are reporting that they have mental health issues. So there is no reason that anybody has to silently suffer with medical, physical or mental issues, as we are right here in the community. And so I just wanted to present that tonight and invite you to come to our facility and just see what it is if you're not familiar with it. We are at the Love in Action main office, which is just across the highway at 326 North Ferry. And I would invite all others to share this important service because, again, nobody has to anonymously be sick. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in, and thank you for the work that you do.
Good evening, Jim Hagan, 400 Lake. I want to talk about a topic that I've talked about previously a number of times, and it's fiscal responsibility. And that's the reason we voted for council and so forth, mayor, to have people who are fiscally responsible. Some of the topics I've spoken about before, which I'm going to list again, were the parking spaces, rental at 25 cents per square foot per month, to various businesses, which is extraordinarily low. I think there's been some discussion and agreement on that fact. The diesel plant, where a survey was put together, which I didn't really think was statistically significant in view of what actually even happened on it, where we ended up leaving $1 million on the table, and the council has been asking for money for Harbor Island. Well, that could have been $1 million. So I think we need to look at things in a lot more detail than we have been. We shouldn't be just having surveys just to say, oh, everybody said, yes, we're going to do it. We have to have a lot more discussion, look at our financial picture before we go ahead and do things. The other item is parking fees. We talked about how much potential is out there, how other towns are charging for parking. We've got beach parking. I've been watching them plow sand with all sorts of equipment. It costs tremendous amounts of money to move that sand in and out of that area. But what I want to talk about right now is what we did the last meeting, or what the council did the last meeting, and that's on just adding a holiday. The mayor had some good points she brought up. She asked the question of how much money it would cost, but one thing that wasn't really discussed, which would be discussed with any union when there's an increase in days, is, if they want things, it's basically what do we want? Where's the trade-offs on holidays? Grand Haven has a tremendous number of holidays. We just added it. I heard $8,000 was the cost. I don't know if that's the all-in cost, including mirrors and everything else, but in any case, we've also heard that we're always short of people. So those two don't agree to me. One thing the mayor did that I really liked was looked at other communities, what their numbers were. I remember Ottawa County was 8, and I just decided to look at Portage, since Portage comes up a lot. Portage in 2022 had 9 calendar holidays, but New Year's was actually on the 31st, so they had 10. What do they have in 2023? 7. What's missing? 4th of July, Christmas Eve, and Christmas. So communities move these things around, obviously. I think Grand Haven needs to have discussions when we start deciding to add things. Thanks.
Thanks, Jim.
Hello, my name is Jean Madden, 1625 Gladys Circle, and I'm here first of all to thank you for your recent approval of a 3-year forest management plan for Duncan Woods, Mulligan Hollow, and the Lake Forest Cemetery, so thank you very much. I would like, we all know that these forests are threatened by invasive species that are killing our hemlocks, our beech trees, and our oak trees. There's also invasive plants like garlic mustard and deer overbrowsing, which is really causing significant damage to the forest. And the report pointed out that without the trees and plants, which are currently dying under those threats, that we will have movement of sand, shifting of sand, and even risk to property. So, thank you for approving the plan. Now I ask you to take the next step, which is to raise the necessary funds to put that plan to action. So whether that's fundraising through the city's website, whether that's writing of grants, whatever needs to be done. And I also want to say that as a citizen, I'm very welcome and willing to help, and I know others are too. So put us to work. Anything that we can do, please call citizens to help save these beautiful forests which attract tourists and improve all of our property values and, are home to many, many amazing, insects, mammals, and other wildlife. So thank you very much for your consideration, and let me know what we can do to help.
Thank you, Jean. It's good to put a name or a face to the emails.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rorit Gelbard, and I live on 17712 Tamarack Lane in Grand Haven. I hope you don't mind if I will read what okay, good. Thank you. I was one of the vendors that had a food truck this summer on Chinook Pier. The name of my truck is Pita on the Pier. We sell healthy and delicious Mediterranean food. First, I would like to thank Ashley and the members of the City Council for approving having food trucks in that location. However, I am sorry to inform you that the location did not meet our business expectations. It is far from the beach, it is far from Washington Street, and it is far from the center. In the past, Chinook Pier had numerous shops that attracted foot traffic to the area. Today, the only attraction in the area are a few games and a fishing boats. In addition, we were supposed to be 5 food trucks that would have also attracted some more foot traffic. However, unfortunately, most of the other trucks spent only 1 or 2 days a week in the area, and at the end of the Coast Guard, they all disappeared and that's a fact that added another difficulty to my business. I was the only truck that abided by the agreement and stayed until the end of September. I'm here today to appeal to you and to ask for your help to approve a different city location closer to Washington Street or to the beach. I was also wondering what it would take to be on those areas. As you all probably know, there are 3 magical rules to have a successful business, and it is location, location, location. I invested a lot of money to build a nice, presentable, attractive truck, and I do not see how I can have a return to my investment being in the Chinook Pier location. I believe my truck adds a bonus to the city, to our local community, and to our summer tourists by introducing a variety of fast, healthy, reasonably priced food. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Ashley Latch for her new position and to thank her for all the help she gave me to materialize the food truck in the past. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, good evening. Merry Christmas. My name is Cecil Bradshaw. I live at 31 Sherman Avenue in the Sandpiper condominiums. And tonight I wanted just to mention a couple of things about the diesel plant redevelopment process. The most recent public discussion that I'm aware of regarding that project to redevelop the diesel plant took place at the Planning Commission on June 14th. At that meeting, the developer left that meeting with the requirement to look at that plan as to how they would address the sidewalk, how they would manage parking, and that the additional variance number would not be granted at that particular point in time. It was implied at that meeting, but not stated, that they would be back at the next meeting with the revised plans. That plan does not meet the ordinance, and without ordinance changes, I don't know how it can. Mary Riley is a land use educator with Michigan State University Extension, and this is an excerpt from one of her articles. If the zoning administrator does not adhere to the strict application of the zoning ordinance, then he or she is not consistent with the law. And then it goes on to say, so the zoning administrator should not even overlook the distance of 1 foot. That's pretty tight. Since the initial time period provided to the developer to perform the diligence had expired, and their time frame is extended, and there has not been any additional public notice of any activity to bring that case to a conclusion, there's been silence for 6 months now, and it's still not on the December Planning Commission agenda. Something does not seem right with this process, and it's my fear there may be some questionable activity going on with this particular project. Now, the reason I say that, a number of years ago when I was chairman of the Planning Commission, when I believe it was Red Star Shores, the developer for the apartments over at Grand Landing, when they came to the Planning Commission was not even aware that the City Council had struck an agreement with that developer. That agreement severely tied the hands of the Planning Commission in their discussions, in their deliberations, and it subsequently resulted in a less than desired outcome for that project. So I know from firsthand experience that a City Council can, and did, compromise the Planning Commission's decision-making process, and that's the basis for my concern. So I encourage you, our city leaders, as you move forward on this, to honor the citizens of Grand Haven, to honor our planning ordinances, to honor our planning commissioners, and to make the right decisions making the CL Lakewood decisions that you wind up making. I know the time is drawing very, very close. I believe it's 1 more month. And so it just seems kind of strange that it's been 6 months on a major project and there's not been one thing said about it in the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecil.
Steve Miller, 1540 Penoyer Avenue, and I'd like to begin by giving all the council members a t-shirt, if I may.
Sure, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
And my sales pitch is basically I'm here to pitch to all the members of the City Council the Strong Towns website. It was founded in 2008, and the founder has since written 5 books on city planning and on city management. They have now grown to have 3,600 donation-making members. They have 216 local conversations groups. One is located in Traverse City. And when I chatted with one of the staff members, they told me in the next 5 years they hope to raise that number to 1,000 local conversation groups. And at this point, they have grown to have 18 staff members. And they have also had millions of visitors to their website. I tried to get through to one of their staff members today to clarify that number, but I was unable to. And I hope that you will consult Strong Towns Parking when you consider whether or not to continue the dining program, on-street summer dining program. I think that it is one of the best things that's happened to Grand Haven in a long time. When I Googled Sidewalk Cafes Paris, I got 9 million entries. I think that sidewalk dining is self-evidently something that is beneficial. I know that some people are trying to promote the idea that there is a problem, that there's some sort of a shortage with parking spaces in the summertime in Grand Haven. I disagree with that. I think that that problem is about as real as if we were worrying about Count Dracula attacking Grand Haven. It's not real. I did put a little, I remembered to put in a little hand notice in your package. You will get bonus points if you enter the phrase Paris Mayor Parking, and you'll get 9 million entries. And the first article that I pull up under that phrase on my phone says the following: Paris is to remove around half of its 140,000 car parking spaces under a scheme by current Mayor Anne Hidalgo to make the city more pedestrian and cyclist friendly. The figure of 70,000 was announced by David Belliard, Deputy Mayor with responsibility for transport, mobility, and transforming public space. And that article was in October of 2020. We have more than enough parking. And when you look at the math,
Steve,
that,
you got to wrap it up.
okay,
if
that's
you would.
25 spaces out of 1,300, which is a minute number. Please continue that program. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, looks like next item on the agenda is a presentation by Public Works on the Cross Connection Program. Matt, is that you?
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Matt Wade, Streets and Utilities Manager at Public Works. And yes, this is the Cross Connection Control Program, a little presentation on how it's run in the city. This is a little more specific to our commercial Cross Connection Control Program.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to throw you off, but how do we define commercial?
Yeah, so we'll talk about that.
Okay, good. Then go ahead, Matt. Thank you.
So commercial cross connection control program, We've been doing it since the early 2000s, but it was done in-house. Some of the rules and regulations got a little more strict as years went on. And in 2016, we started working with HydroCorp to do our inspections, tracking, and a lot of our mailers that go out. We've recently, as you know, received approval to continue working with them through 2025 for those same services. So what is a cross-connection? Cross-connection is any backflow or reversal flow of water, of contaminated water, into our potable drinking water. So that can happen in a lot of ways. Our operators work really hard at the water plant to make sure the water goes out safe. And once it leaves the plant, we've got about 5,000 plus opportunities for it to become contaminated. That's by everybody's home or business in town. So backflow preventers are very important, and there's definitely a need to perform those inspections regularly. So who's affected, as you asked earlier, Mayor? Commercial properties include a wide range of different businesses. You know, schools, DPW facilities, pharmacies, dental offices, rental properties. Pretty much one kind of easy way to explain it is any business or anything that would profit off of a use would be commercial property. Just like fire safety, you know, a rental property has a lot more inspections, exit, you know, things like that, more than a residential property. So same difference with water. Inspections and re-inspections. Again, HydroCorp does all of this for us with commercial properties. We do approximately 484 accounts that are inspected annually. And there's multiple letters that go out, inspection notices, testing notices, re-inspections. And if you fail to set up those inspections or re-inspections after a few notices, you'll get a shut-off notice. So it's very important that we get in and do those inspections. There's a difference between how often properties will be re-inspected. High hazard is every 12 months and low hazard is every 3 years. So depending on what kind of operations you're running in a business, you may be considered high hazard or low hazard.
So do we have any idea how many of the counts, when you say 484 a year, I thought the write-up you gave us said something more like 1,400.
Yeah, so that's over the 3-year period.
Okay, that makes sense.
So we have a 3-year contract, so over 3 years, the low hazard, you can see our 3 years. That's kind of how we set it up so that we hit every commercial account over those 3 years. Now, every high hazard has to get hit every year, and we have about 75 of those right now.
And what makes them high hazard, Matt?
There's pretty much anything that has a backflow preventer on it. So I think I have, no, I don't have it there. But this picture, I guess, any type of process equipment, kitchens, even pop machines, things like that. Anything with a pump on it that could push water backwards easier. Obviously, like a residential home, you have your hose, you wash your car or something like that. You might leave a hose in a bucket. That could create a backflow, but there's not a pump on it, so we don't necessarily consider that high hazard.
Gotcha.
So again, residential cross connections. Same thing with residential buildings or homes. Lawn irrigation systems have backflow preventers on them. Any faucet that's connected to a hose, sometimes your laundry sink might have a spot where you can connect a hose to it. Those shouldn't be there, or you shouldn't have a hose connected to it. If you leave a hose in the sink, that could create a backflow. Toilet tanks, liquid fertilizer feed, like that picture you see up there, those are all contaminants that could go into the drinking water system. A lot of times when a home is shut down in the winter, we have experienced some places that put antifreeze into the piping system, and obviously that would be a major contaminant if it backflowed into the potable water system. So why is all this required? Michigan has a Safe Drinking Water Act. Public Act 399 was enacted in 1976. Like I said, there's been a lot of amendments to this since then, so it's changed over time. But this is where we get a lot of our rules and regulations on having a safe drinking water system. Eagle also requires us to submit our plans and records and all of our stats from year to year on what was inspected and how it was inspected. And that's how we keep up on our inspections.
So it's required by state law?
Correct.
And is the frequency also set by state law, or is that up to us?
That's a standard.
Okay.
But there are, some options there. Our residential is every 10 years, and high hazard is every 5 years, and low hazard is every 10 years. So it's a little different.
We do them on
between-
residences too?
Yes.
We haven't fully implemented our program yet. We just got fully staffed in our utilities department about 4 months ago, so we're working towards it,
But it's coming.
yeah, and as you know, with lead service line inspections,
We're kind of busy.
got a lot going on.
Yes, you do.
I'm just gonna add, it's a state mandate, but they don't give us no funding to help us with this.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Actually, Matt, I feel better to hear that we do it every 3 years, because it's really kind of I'm going to call it a hard plumbing issue, right? So the idea that we go out and check someone's plumbing every year was a little bit troubling to me. But if it's every 3 years and they're commercial entities, that's not troubling to me in the same way. Does that make sense?
That does. I would like to note, one thing that gets a little confusing is the testing side of it. So we go out and do these inspections every 12 months if it's high hazard, and every 3 years if it's low hazard. But testing on backflow preventers needs to be done every year. So that's just, you have a plumber come out, test your backflow preventers. If it's a business like Shape, you might have 5 or 6 backflow preventers. DPW, I don't know the exact number offhand, Derek might know it, but I want to say 60 to 70 backflow preventers we have that we need tested, just as the city.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, sometimes you hear, hey, I have to get this done every year. Sometimes it's the testing portion of it.
Okay. And the I'll call it the costs, are they fairly apportioned according to the size of the commercial entity? Or is it, does Shape pay the same as Dairy Treat?
Yeah, and we might talk a little bit more about that later on new business, but our commercial cross-connection control program, that cost is spread evenly across those 1,400 accounts. So it's about $3. Well, we're requesting it be bumped up to $3.50 from $3.33 a month.
So we're spreading it evenly across all commercial?
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay.
Just a question, regardless of the number of backflow connectors you're charging the same amount?
Correct.
Okay.
And that charge is for HydroCorp to come in and do their inspections. So that, if you have, let's say, 5 backflow preventers, the testing side of it, you're going to call a local plumber who's certified in testing, and they're going to come out and test your backflow preventers. I'm not sure if they charge per backflow preventer. I would imagine that they do, but that's where your cost might be different, is on the testing.
Gotcha.
So when you test, do they have to report that data then to the city, and then you're tracking who's submitted test data and then are notifying folks they haven't?
Exactly. HydroCorp's also doing that. So they send out testing notifications, which is different than your inspection notification. And I think, we hear a lot of stuff from residents on, you were here every year, I'm getting these notices, and sometimes I think that's where that mix-up comes in, is they're getting another testing notification.
Go ahead, Mike, I'm sorry.
That's basically the same thing, because I have a fire suspension in my business and they have to come in every year. They go through it all, and they have to send a report into the city, to the fire department, and let them know that they were here and what they did, what they noticed, and that. Basically, it's the same type of system you have to do then, right?
Correct.
Okay.
That answers a lot of my questions, Matt, and I appreciate it, and appreciate you too, Derek. I guess I do have some issues with small business being charged the same as large business, but if that's something you guys are going to look at down the line, I'm good with that. This information was helpful to me. Thank you.
Yeah.
I kind of pushed this a little, guys. I'm sorry.
Your Honor, I just have a follow-up question. So the testing is sort of based on the, it's done by the plumber hired by the commercial organization, but the inspection that HydroCorp does, do they not have to inspect all of those backflow devices as well? I guess my question is it the same level of effort for HydroCorp, whether or not you're SHAPE or Dairy Treat? Yeah.
Well, the level of effort, I guess, would definitely change depending on the size of the building, and what all the inspector has to go in and look at.
They go in and inspect the plumbing facilities,
Yeah, so
basically
they're
throughout the facility.
Yeah, they're looking at all the plumbing facilities, toilets, everything, anything like that even.
So if you have a lot more toilets or
Sinks,
sinks, it's
yeah.
going to be a lot more, okay.
Correct.
I wanted to just see the workload driver, and so it's clearly more work, even with an inspection for a larger, or one that would have more sinks and
Potentially.
toilets and more plumbing in general.
Yeah, and same for any beverage dispenser, coffee shops. Yeah, they're smaller, but a lot of times they have a lot of very intricate systems that need very special plumbing there too. So there's a lot of, it's hard to say exactly, the size of the building doesn't necessarily matter,
But the complexity of the plumbing does.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Derek, did you have something to add?
Your Honor, Derek Gatis, Public Works Director. Matt's done a great job at presenting a very complicated rule and law and inspections. It's people look at us and go, "What are you talking about?" Well, those opportunities for backflow are again very important to us. I've been doing it for over 20 years, and Matt has just been doing it since he's become manager. So he's taken and he's running and learning a lot with it. There are a few caveats to the actual cost breakdown. When I started here, actually you hired HydroCorp for the first time at the meeting I was hired at, so so we kind of have the same longevity, I think, at the city. Mm-hmm. And that proposal to pay those costs was already set by the previous staff and council. We can look at those things. HydroCorp doesn't actually say it takes so much time to do a Shape Corp compared to a Dairy Treat. So actually doing like a time and material, trying to figure out how much time they spend there would be really, really time consuming. But there might be something where we could do where an industrial facility compared to a commercial facility compared to a rental property, we have those different classifications with our utility billing software and stuff like that. So we can look at that. It was just originally set up that way. We've continued it. We haven't heard any whole lot of complaints about it, but a very important duty for water systems is make sure that our waters are safe. And it's a good time to talk about it. We've got a residential program that's coming. We're going to do a lot of public education on it before we start our very first inspection. So we're not just going to run out there and start knocking on doors. We're going to talk a lot about it and then begin. And that'll probably take us 10 years to get through the entire city for the first time. So. But, and Matt's going to lead that charge along with me.
Good luck to you, Matt.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Derek, and thank you, Matt. We set?
I'm all set.
Okay, thank you so much.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
So moved?
Second.
I don't think there's any further discussion. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Fritz,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes, and I'm sorry, would you read it for us, Maria? Thanks.
Item A, approve the council special work session and regular meeting minutes of October 17, regular meeting and closed session meeting minutes of November 7, and the regular meeting minutes of November 21st. Our new item B, approve the bills memo in the amount of $489,469.04. C, approve the appointment of Dana, last name, Colware, Special Events Coordinator / Project Manager for the City of Grand Haven as the city liaison to the Coast Guard Festival Board. D, approve 7 one-year seasonal slip rental agreements as follows. Jim Brown, slip 21, Jason Carpenter, slip 23, Mike Dykstra, slip 24, Brian and Janine Voss, slip 26, Roger and Melanie Jansen, slip 27, John Wolf, slip 38, and Rhonda and Daniel Breeze, slip 40, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the necessary documents. E, approve the bid proposal of $36,500 from Equity Marine Construction LLC of Fruitport, Michigan to maintain and clean on schedule or emergency call the Northwest Ottawa Water System Lake Michigan North and South infiltration beds during the 2023 and 2024 summer seasons and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the necessary documents. Item F, accepting the proposal from Aben Marsh of Benton Harbor, Michigan in the amount of $24,250 to provide preliminary / final design and construction engineering services for street resurfacing 2023 and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the necessary documents. G, approve a change order of an increase to the authorized purchase amount of $43,440.59 to add an additional $1,856 for the dump box to Preferred Ford of Grand Haven, Michigan for the purchase of a 1-ton dump truck in the not-to-exceed amount of $45,296.59. What? Oh, sorry. And H, approve the Winterfest special event to be held Friday, January 27 through Sunday, January 29 in the Harborfront parking lot, allowing consumption of alcohol and amplified sound from 3 p.m. until 10 p.m. on Saturday, January 28, pursuant to the Sound Ordinance Section 22.4 and the Alcohol Consumption Ordinance Section 512.
Thank you, Maria. Okay, we're going to move
Question-
on.
question?
Go ahead. Yep.
For item A, Maria, do we need to add as amended? The mayor added, made a couple minor modifications to the minutes as printed.
Yeah, I believe the mayor said as amended.
As amended.
Yep.
Oh, you did state that?
Did say that.
Okay, when you were reading it, I didn't hear it, so I'm sorry.
Okay. We've already voted, so we're going to move on to the public hearing. I'm going to, at this time, open a public hearing to accept public comment on the establishment of a commercial rehabilitation district along the Beech Tree corridor. So anyone who's come this evening who'd like to present, I'm probably going to, Elizabeth, are you going to speak today? Okay, so how about you start us off, and then if people want to, or would you prefer to follow? You could explain what it is, and I see that you have a lot of support. So, Brian?
I'll start.
All right, Brian, that's fine. Yep,
We're going to tag team.
that sounds fine.
Good evening, Brian Urquhart, City Planner. What you have on your agenda is a public hearing for the establishment of a commercial rehabilitation district. And this was a partnership that we worked with the Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development. Elizabeth introduced it to you at, I believe, the September 6th meeting. And it was discussed that there's a recognition of that certain businesses in the east side of town, mainly along Beech Tree, have made some significant investments in their property. And then how could we look at that and say, how can we catalyze further economic development in that area? One of the tools that's available in the toolbox is this act, of the Commercial Rehabilitation Act is to establish a district, and we determined that the best way would be to look at the Beech Tree Corridor, an area of the east side of town that sometimes is maybe a little bit forgotten, not quite as publicized as the area closer to downtown or towards the beach, and think of that as an opportunity to encourage business owners or property owners to look at theirs and see what kind of investments they can make. So the district itself is primarily mostly of what in the zoning map, it overlays most of it of the Beech Tree zoning district and a few other areas that abut Beech Tree Street. One of the things that we looked at was what is the intent of that district? And included in my report was that the Beech Tree district has the intention of having a vibrant corridor, providing an eclectic mix of retail, office buildings, and light industrial facilities, all permitted uses and all permitted eligible facilities under that act. So tonight is just to have a public hearing to establish that district and to make a finding that all those district contains qualified facilities such as multiple family residential, commercial, light industrial, some other commercial properties, even some vacant properties that formerly were commercial facilities would apply. The next steps, and I don't want to get too far into this, the next steps is that if it's approved, still has to go to the Ottawa County Board of Commissioners for approval or rejection. If not rejected, the district is established. At that time, individual property owners or applicants can come before City Council and then request an abatement. Now that abatement can be a period as determined by council for a period of 1 to 10 years on the tax increase of that improvement. So those improvements could be vary in terms of private property investment, improvements to the facility, job creation. They'll have to outline that at the time of the abatement. But we wanted to take a look at an area that we've seen is with some significant growth, some investment, and felt that this was a great tool to kind of even spur on others that have had the opportunity, that may consider opportunity to contribute to their business and continue investment in that area. So Elizabeth from the Chamber really did a great job of going around and kind of surveying this, as it shows that this started probably around May, I would say, and kind of looked at some of those businesses and see what are your projects and how would this be able to help you in your future vision for your facility. So I'll turn it over to her to kind of talk about that aspect of how we kind of got to this point today.
Can I ask a quick question, Brian?
Absolutely.
So I went and looked at the Beech Tree District, and I'm interested because you didn't give us a map, and a map to me would be very helpful, and it sounds like what your description said is almost all the properties in the Beech Tree District. So I'd be interested in two, I have two questions. One is, which properties in the Beech Tree District aren't included? And are there properties outside the Beech Tree District that are included? And I ask that because when we establish a district, and I've never done this before, so I might be wrong, but it would seem to me if it's more or less contiguous with the Beech Tree District, the simplest way would be to describe it as the Beech Tree District, because what we've described is multiple addresses, which
I think there's a map.
I apologize for not having that map in the packet, but I believe I did send something to.
I think there's a map that outlines it on
the website.
Well, I looked at the Beech Tree District map, so, and with.
Like outlined.
It was.
Yeah.
Map
There's
making.
something set separately that I missed?
Commercial Rehabilitation District, Beech Tree Corridor, he's got it kind of outlined in red.
Yes, it's not as professional as I'd like it, right there.
So, okay,
So,
so it is more or less contiguous with the Beech Tree District.
more or less.
So what isn't would be my question. And if it's contiguous, couldn't we just describe it as the Beech Tree zoning district?
The way I read the act is that you had to send notice to all property owners, and then the draft resolution was that you had to include every single parcel and legal description in it. That's how I interpreted the act. It was cumbersome, yes, and so that's how I kind of looked at it. Our Beech Tree District doesn't have a legal description of its own. We'd have to like create that and add it. That would have been taking quite a bit of time. Yeah, we could probably revise that legal description as we see fit to match what the Beech Tree, the CRD district, if it does align exactly with the Beech Tree corridor. I would say there are a few properties that are zoned in that zoning map that are included in the Beech Tree Commercial Rehabilitation District that fit the use category, because it's not a prerequisite per the act of what the zoning is. It's to what kind of use constitutes it. And there are a few, and I'll admit, that are probably publicly owned, such as the park, that could be excluded, the Skillica Park. Everything else, I think, would qualify. So we could kind of, if we wanted to identify that, take that off of as a parcel that would be eligible. If not, we can keep it on there. So that was really the area, because we identified Beech Tree, the types of uses that are permitted, and so you take a look at that possible future development, not exactly what is there right now. That's another thing that we have to kind of consider that can assist with that proposal. So we did take a look, and I know there's a list that was created of what businesses were there. I know there's a few just south of Fulton Street I want to say, is it Franklin? Maybe further north. I'm trying to remember my streets.
That were added
That
beyond-
were not currently zoned Beech Tree, that are actually industrial, but they're non-conforming uses, but they still could fit in with the commercial rehabilitation district.
Yeah, it looks to me like also there's, on Washington and Beech Tree, it didn't look like Norms was included.
Yes.
And whatever the property is immediately north of Norms, but I think City Farmer was included, so.
City Farmer was included.
Was not?
It was.
It was,
It
okay.
was.
But
It was.
Norms wasn't?
Believe- Norms-
Was Norms. I couldn't tell, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to exclude people who might otherwise be able to use this.
That's right there.
Norm's right here, Mayor.
Norms,
Okay, so it's in the boundary of what you did, but not in the Beech Tree District. So
not in the
maybe
Beech Tree zoning district.
Zoning district, yep,
It's
I
in
got
the
it. Okay.
commercial rehabilitation district.
Okay.
That's why we decided to include it instead of just do a blanket overlay, because we wanted to have a little bit more sharper line on that definition.
Okay, all right,
Good
so.
question, though.
So you're gonna stick to your guns and say, let's do it with, descriptions of each specific addresses, basically.
I believe that's what
The right thing to do.
I believe that's
Have you
the
guys
legal-
seen other ones? Is
I-
that how
well,
they?
it was a lot of legwork to get those addresses and legals, but this is kind of why it was such a broad task, to instead of just doing one individual situation, parcel, if you will, like we did with the obsolete property. This was initiated by Chamber and the city, and we had such a broad range, we felt this would just be the most appropriate method to do that.
Right,
And so,
I'm not questioning the appropriateness of this, I think it's a great idea. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to figure out, is this the best way to describe it? That's all.
Yeah,
And if you're telling me this is how other districts have been designated and this is the right thing to do, I'm in.
I would say so, yes. And this is obviously the first time the city, at least from what I've been able to research, something of this scale, and I think it's appropriate for what's going on in terms of economic development and future development in that site. So I'll turn over to Elizabeth, who had a little bit more background with integrating and actually speaking with the business community at that time.
Sounds good, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Elizabeth Butler, Director of Economic Development, Strategic Directions at the Chamber of Commerce, Grand Haven, Spring Lake, and Ferrisburg. So this, to kind of piggyback on what the good information that Brian gave, this project really started back in, it started in February when we had some conversations about of how to help make a project come together, and then it got really some legs in May. And I began working with different groups. I began talking to, I believe, 21 businesses along that area, and got really good support. There's some great development ideas that people have for that area. And when you go through the Beech Tree corridor, right now there's I think about 8 empty businesses right now, and so this idea is to help spur development, and economic development is contagious, and just keep it going and make it a thriving, vibrant corridor. So what this will do is it'll freeze the taxable value to the building and exempt the new investment from local taxes from a period of between 1 and 10 years. And the council will just, upon application for this exemption, council will decide the time period at that time. So for the rehab, the commercial property is a qualified facility that includes a building or a group of contiguous buildings of commercial property that are 15 years or older. And it will apply to multifamily residential uses as long as there's at least 5 units or more. And this public act also will apply to vacant land. So there is that parcel of vacant land across from the Sunoco station over there. So there's 3 different types of commercial public acts out there for incentives, if you will. One is this one, the Commercial Rehabilitation Act. There's also the Commercial Redevelopment Act, and then there's obsolete property. And I felt that this one, the Rehabilitation Act, was most helpful for the region. What else? The rehab must be more than 10% of the true cash value for the property. And just other note here that the school operating tax and the state education tax are still levied on the new investment. So I know Brian did a really good job explaining a lot of this. Do you have any other questions?
Can we ask questions
Yeah,
now?
absolutely. Yes.
Do you want to wait till we consider this?
I think we can ask questions now.
Well, consider I'm looking at Kurt and Gary, they're already under construction. Can this still apply to them if you're already under construction?
There is a rule about, there are clear guidelines around when the construction is commenced, and I can get back to you on that. I can do some looking up.
I think the rules are going to be whatever the rules are, and I have similar equity concerns.
I guess my question would be to push on that, because I think you can phase any project, and maybe, I'd look into that a lot more, because I think there should be some flexibility within the law, law on how someone just because you've started, if you have not expended it, I would think that this would still apply for the balance of
We
funds.
closed the public hearing yet?
No.
Before we discuss it, we should probably close the public hearing first.
All right.
I think it's
Okay.
the
That's
most,
fine.
that's the
Well,
most
before
appropriate
we
way to do
close-
it.
All right, before we close the public
So
hearing.
This is for the public to come in
Yep,
first.
before we close the public hearing, let's let the public have their say. Thank you.
I'll help you.
Thanks. Is there anyone who'd care to address?
Good evening. My name is Benny Chrysler. My husband and I own the building at 1447 Washington. We also own a home in Grand Haven at 1875 Doris. We opened up a recording studio and were initially renting space in Grand Haven and started to look around for where we felt comfortable, and we believe in this community, and we really felt drawn to the east side. We felt that it was about the community over there, and we started to see growth of people investing over there, and we felt it was home for this recording studio. And when we have people come in, that's what they say. They get to go across the street to Berserk, they get to go next door to City Farmer or go get ice cream, and they just feel like it is community driven, and that there's nothing wrong with downtown, but it's about community over there. It feels like Grand Haven. And so we rent space also in our building to 6 other people, companies, and they feel the same because I've spoken to them, and that's where they're comfortable too. And so this will help us to be able to further our building, to make it look better, possibly bring in more businesses into our building as well. So that's just a win-win, and I'm very excited about this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kurt Kanoth, 514 Lafayette, and you probably have me to thank for this meeting because it was Elizabeth and Christian and I had a meeting back in February because we were looking at some buildings downtown, and I learned that there were some tax abatements and other incentives to do some rehabilitation downtown, but there was nothing on the east side. So I approached Elizabeth with her team. It's been a lot of work to get to this point. We bought a property at 1434 Colfax, my wife and I, back in March, and hopefully within the next month or so, Loose Spokes Bike Shop will be moving from the township into the city, into that building. And then on the back side of the building, we were putting Off the Chain Brewstillery, so it'll be the first on-site distillery in town and the fourth brewery. And it's going to be epic because we're going to be right across the street from Gary's place. It is going to be vibrant. I mean, it's you can already start to see, as Benny was saying, that it's a great community. I met my wife on the east side. I'm not originally from Grand Haven, but I used to live on the east side, so it's kind of like going home, and our hearts have always kind of been there. And then from our perspective, as Gary well knows, I'm not planning to put a kitchen into this establishment, so we plan to partner with local establishments for folks to be able to bring in food. So I think we're going to hopefully help raise all the boats in the neighborhood. And again, we feel the creation of the commercial rehabilitation district on the east end will encourage more development such as ours, and it'll bring vibrancy not only to local businesses but also the local neighborhood. And I respectfully ask that you support this initiative. So thank you.
Thanks, Kurt.
Good evening. Hi. Gary Boyd, 1855 Colfax and 415 South Beech Tree. We are I've lived in Grand Haven longer than I haven't. Most of that time I've lived on the east side. I had a really fun thing going in Grand Rapids, and then I decided to move home and stay home and hang out, and the more and more we thought about doing something on our own, and East End made the most sense for us. And since we decided to jump in, East End is blowing up. There are a lot of people involved. A lot of people in this room have been very supportive. The city has been extremely supportive. I think this is the next step for East End. Beech Tree Corridor is very exciting. Next summer it's going to be a totally different world on that side of town, and everybody over there is in. So this little CRD would be very beneficial to a lot of people. To the future of East End, and hopefully we can be more than to be determined in the master plan and actually be a vibrant part of this community that is extremely community-based. It is local. It is not downtown, which is local, but downtown has a very specific focus. We think the East End has a different focus, and that is community. So we hope that you will support this proposal. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Neal. I live at 1644 Franklin Avenue, and I'm with the East Enders, right? We're the East Enders. I have been at the property I'm currently at for 9 years. 2014 is when I moved to West Michigan, and yeah, like that's always been home to us. And I want to support this. I think East End has always had an opportunity for growth, and this is exactly something we need. We are the locals over there. Many of you live in that side of town, and their Beech Tree, can host an opportunity of growth, give us an opportunity to be the Tanglefoot Park, Spring Lake did an amazing job, and I live directly across the river from there. I see it every night. And I deeply feel that East End Park has an opportunity for better bathrooms and, you know, whatever these fundings can offer us. He's mentioned grants. I mean, that's what we have. We live on the largest river in the state. And so I think any time we have an opportunity to attain money to make our community better, let's do this, you know. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to the next couple of years and what we got going on. And I hope that you support this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve Miller, 1540 Penoyer. I do live just a few doors down to the east from Beech Tree. And I think it's great. I mean, these people that have invested in the neighborhood are like heroes. I think the neighborhood has been way underutilized for a long time. So it's exciting. I'm just going to add one thing that I hope that as the plans go forward, people don't just assume that the default for like how traffic is managed on Beech Tree is just going to be just like Robbins Road, because if that happens, the traffic situation is going to be a failure. I mean, right now it's kind of to me, traffic is obnoxious already. So hopefully they're going to plant lots of trees along the street and really look seriously at what they can do to install some traffic calming measures as well. Thank you.
Jim Hagan, 400 Lake. I think the CRD is an excellent idea. One item that I would like a little bit of thought about is having so much variability on the discretion of the council on the tax abatement. I think it would be much more effective to have a tabular form where people could go in and know the percentage of investment or investment dollars and know what kind of tax abatement they would be eligible for. I think it would really help investors to firm up a decision. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Christian Miller. I'm at 709 Clinton. About a month ago now, I bought loose spokes from Jack Crawford at 16780, and I'll be moving it into their building at 1434. But I wanted to tell kind of a quick story. So when I was 12 years old, my mom lives out in Robinson Township off of Lincoln, and I would ride my bike to town and, you know, just to visit the skate park and the beach and hang out downtown, you know. I love Grand Haven. And so I'd come up Waverly, because that was kind of the safest, easiest way for me to go. And back then there was the Oasis, and that was before Sunoco and all that. But I would pop in Oasis, grab like a drink or something, you know, and ride around. And I remember seeing this building, 1434 Colfax, and it was one of the few buildings in Grand Haven that had some work from local artists on the side. I think it was the only one. And I just thought to myself, like, what is this building? Why is nobody using it? What's going on with it? And I just thought it'd be really cool to one day do something with it. And thanks to the help of some incredible people, we're doing that now. And I think that's pretty cool. I love seeing Grand Haven grow. And, you know, I respectfully ask for your support in this. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Anybody else? Okay, we should close the public hearing. The public hearing's hereby closed, and let's discuss. It sounds like there's general support. Mike, how about we start with you?
Well, I'll start out.
Can we get a motion to get on the
Oh.
agenda? Can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
You want to read it?
Would you like me to read it?
Yeah, read it out.
Okay.
I'm trying to help out, Mike,
I'm
any
just
way I
listening to
can.
her.
Consideration by City Council of a resolution to establish a commercial rehabilitation district for approximately 48 parcels located near or on Beech Tree Street, and to establish a finding The properties are a qualified facility as defined per Section 2H after holding a public hearing pursuant to Section 3 of the Commercial Rehabilitation Act, PA 210 of 2005.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Discussion? Mike?
Okay, well, the shop you guys are in was Camrad's sign shop. A lot of the stuff, he did a lot of painting on it. I grew up basically, even though I lived in the north end of town here, but my whole family is around this whole town, so I spent a lot of time on the east side and hung out with Mr. Camrad. He was quite a character at the time, but he did most of the signs in town here, so it was really good. But there is so much potential on Beech Tree, it's unbelievable. When I first got on here, when we had a chance of purchasing Eagle Auto, I tried to get the colleges to come here and thinking that would actually build that corridor into being such a great thing to do. And it was pretty interesting, but there is a lot of potential. I see it up and down there all the time. I see the traffic flow that you get, and it's just a great. I'm all for this, 100%. Any kind of potential, any kind of tools that we can give you to help you expand your businesses, make them better, is the best thing to do. So I'm definitely going to be the one to say yes on this.
Evan?
Kind of said it all, but I've only been in Grand Haven for going on 4 years, and I kind of fell in love with the east side. I like the neighborhood, exactly what you're talking about, community. Downtown's downtown, you're absolutely right. There's nothing like a group of people like you, and same thing with the people in Centertown. There's really that group of people that really wants to change their area. And I'm so much in support of this, and anything I can do for any of you, please let me know, because I think this is great for the East End.
Karen?
Yes, first, I just want to say thank you to Elizabeth and Brian for all the work that you've done. This has been something, I know it's only been a little over a year that I've been on this council, but one of my biggest passions was trying to look at how we were going to revitalize all of our neighborhoods, but starting with, the East End. And this is one of the few vehicles that we have that we can incentivize, given our budget situation. So I applaud you for jumping on it and working so hard to put together, a really smart way of creating this Beech Tree corridor. So I want to say thank you, and I'm excited to see what happens next. So I'm fully supportive.
Brian?
Yeah, it seems like we hear a resounding theme that a lot of us have recognized the potential in the Beech Tree district, and same thing when I was running for office, now close to 4 years ago. There was some momentum. The East End Association was really picking up strong, and then COVID. But there was already folks who had already made significant investments in the corridor and saw the promise and made that investment. Folks that continued on and stayed strong through tough times to continue that investment. And heck, Berserk opened, I think, during COVID. Gary, you've stayed strong through a challenging time. Norm's opened up. There's been just a ton of great investment along that corridor. So to be able to support that continued investment and hopefully take it to the next level and continue that momentum, I'm fully in support of that.
I agree with everything that's been said. And I wanted to say, I feel like the East End's been waiting for this. All right, and when I say that, I don't just mean the individual businesses, but I mean the neighborhood. And I think anything that promotes healthy neighborhood. I live near downtown, okay, but Norm's opened up and the whole East End came out for ice cream, and I went, isn't that cool? Then Berserk opened up and the whole East End came out for a beer, and I'm like, even better. So I know the East End is waiting for the Unicorn to open, and I think what Kurt and Christian and their families are going to do over there is just going to pile on in a very constructive way. So there are some cool buildings over there. They're old and they're quasi-industrial or industrial, but they make perfect settings for some of these uses that would add character to our town and frankly, add to our economy. So I think we're all in agreement, and I think I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Fritz?
Oh, wait. Looks like Elizabeth has something else.
I just wanted to follow up on the question earlier. I did find the answer to the question that commencement of the rehabilitation of the qualified facility does not occur earlier than 6 months before the applicant files the application for the commercial rehabilitation exemption certificate. So it's the 6 months.
I'm not sure I understood that. Did you
So
guys?
an applicant seeking their certificate must meet the following qualifications. So the commencement of the rehab of the facility does not occur more than earlier than 6 months before they file.
Okay.
Commencement of the work.
Right.
Starting the work.
Okay.
Right. I think we're going to find there are limits to these rules, and we're going to have to live with the limits. But I think that we can't control what the rules say. We're just going to have to do what we can to foster economic development through this vote. That's kind of where I would and I would add that even if some people fall outside the provisions of this, promoting growth in their neighborhood will help their businesses as well. So I think it's a communal, it is floating all boats, is what we hope to do with this decision. Maria?
Fritz?
Yes.
McLaughlin?
Yes.
Lowe?
Yes.
Cummins?
Yes.
McNally?
Yes.
Hope the county agrees.
Yeah, I guess that's right. All right, we've got a couple items of new business at this point. Maria, you want to read item A?
Consideration by City Council of a resolution to amend the fee schedule and increase the city's commercial cross-connection control program rate from $3.33 to $3.50 per month to cover the annual cost of the program.
Could I get a motion to that effect?
So move.
Second?
Any discussion? Maria, would you please call the roll? Matt, do you want to come back up? Or do you want to just hear us vote on it? I'd say you don't need to.
McLaughlin?
Yes.
Cummins?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Lowe?
Yes.
McNally?
Yes. And we've got one other item, which is the calendar, right?
City Council to approve the 2023 council meeting schedule as presented.
So move.
And support.
And Ryan, you had something that was...
Yeah, and I understand, the reason for moving the dates in April. Certainly understand moving 4/10 off of the 3rd for, spring break, recognizing our staff, being gone. But wondering if we can continue with our regular meeting on 4/17. 'Cause it looked like from the calendar, either way, we were going to have back-to-back meetings, whether it was we meet on 4/24 and then end up meeting on Monday. So
May 1st, yeah.
my personal reasons with work schedules, I would have a challenge in getting probably both Mondays free because I have other commitments those evenings. But if I have one, I can probably work some magic to be here. So,
Okay.
but that's up to
Anybody else
I'm
got
fine with that.
reservations about that?
So
Mike?
you're going to do a 410 and 417, that's what you said?
Right.
So change the 424 to 417.
Yes, and
That's my ask.
Ashley, is that something that you see as doable?
Yep.
Yep.
It really doesn't matter to me. I'll make it any time.
Okay.
I don't think I've missed hardly any.
Is it opening
since I've
day,
been here
Mike?
for 18
I'm just,
years.
opening day would be earlier in the month.
Any day.
Okay.
Usually opening day's on my birthday. That's the only time I missed.
Right.
If there's a council meeting.
And I think opening day will be more like the 4th. It's not going to be.
And the Rolling Stones, as I recall.
Oh, yeah. I did miss the Rolling Stones, yeah.
Okay. As amended, a motion to approve the city council calendar is on the floor, right? As amended. Yep.
McLaughlin?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Lowe?
Yes.
Cummins?
Yes.
McNally?
Yes.
Thank you all.
Okay. Report by city council. Karen, you want to start?
Sure. Just before I give my council report, I just wanted to point out that our city manager had her birthday yesterday, and so I was wondering if I could engage all of us here in a round of happy birthday. So those of you that are left, we need your voices here.
Eric's going to get us queued up on 103.5.
That's right.
The biggest hits right here. Happy birthdays.
1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ashley. Happy birthday to you.
And those of you that remained will have cake afterwards. Thank you.
He's aging before our eyes. I hate to say it, but it's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Karen?
No, I actually had something I wanted to else. Let me hold on one second. First of all, obviously we had a couple things going on this past week. We had the Chamber of Commerce Jingle Bell Parade, which, Joy, I'm going to say, I've never seen all the floats so lit up and so spectacularly beautiful. And I was so thankful to the Chamber, to all of the partners, to our own city staff for everything that they did to make that come. I honestly feel like I live in a Hallmark Christmas movie. It was beautiful. And so I want to thank everyone for that. I also wanted to mention that, the Department of Public Safety, and thank Fire Marshal Terry Dirkleton and Chief Hawk for the Firefighters Crusade for Toys, which also went on during the day, and our city manager for coming out. It was just great to see the support for the Crusade for Toys. I guess lastly, I just like to say maybe it was both of those things, but what really struck me as I reflect on the past year is what an amazing community that we live in. The individuals here, and how many people have such a servant heart, whether they are part of our city staff, whether they are on boards and commissions in the chamber, or volunteers that just come out of the woodwork. I'm always in awe because I just see more and more of them, and I think that's what makes up Grand Haven. There's just people who care so very deeply and really are have those servant hearts, and that includes a lot of our city staff who have been spending many hours, which I really appreciate. And as we go into the end of this year, I just wanted to say I'm very grateful that for the team that we've built here, because I can say that while things seemed a little bit uncertain 6 to 9 months ago with the loss of some very important, very significant people that have led this city, it may not have seemed like it at the time, but I think we have as strong of a team, if not, certainly as strong, maybe even stronger, and with a lot of hope. And so I want to say to Maria and Ashley, congratulations. You guys give me hope, and I'm looking forward to the new year. You've got a really strong team. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Well, very well said, Councilmember Lowe. I echo those comments. Saturday, like I said, the Jingle Bell Parade, to see the community come out and come together and just enjoy themselves with a very positive and safe activity was really something. And then, like I said, to see how generous folks were. I think I saw on Facebook today, $6,000, were raised, and folks around the roof gathering, toys and everything else. I mean, to see the pictures in the room that was filled, I mean, we have such a generous community, but you put it perfectly. Mayor and I met with the kind of snow melt subcommittee. I think we had a lengthy and very frank conversation and meeting, but I think that we all came to an agreement that we feel comfortable with bringing to both of our boards that we hope all of you will support. We'll see if it gets past the BLP hurdle and then eventually to council. But a positive meeting, with an outcome and something to bring back that I hope is a positive step in the right direction. Encourage folks, town hall tomorrow on Harbor Island and the environmental remediation and the next steps. That's a big one. There's just that article that came out with the Tribune the other day talking about the Sim sites, being one of the worst coal ash sites, in the nation. I mean, it shows the stakes and how, and then we have PFAS on top of that. And so our staff and consultants and everybody's been working really hard on it. So I'm excited for them to update the community, but also to kind of myself even ask questions and kind of hear some next steps. I think it's a town hall that I hope will be well attended. I know it's an important issue for all of us. I think paid parking came up tonight. I think I'm not sure if our staff are in line for that end of the year schedule that we had initially set, but I think that should be coming soon because we asked our staff to look into some things on that. Chinook Pier kind of came up tonight. What are our plans for next summer? What are we thinking on that? Perhaps that's a good thing to maybe update council on whether it's a work session item that you have some new fresh ideas or at least in our weekly report, but I think it would be good to receive an update on what our thoughts are on that and next steps. I think we learned some things that could have gone better. We saw some things that went well, and so there's pros and cons there. And then I know the gentleman's still here about the diesel plant, but I'm not aware of any backroom deals. There's no background discussions that council at least is aware of. I think we have had the same updates that the community's had, that we have an agreement, and they've exercised their option to take some extra time to do some due diligence, and that was their right under the agreement. And I think that expires next month, and we'll see how they feel after conducting their due diligence and whether or not they've obtained the approvals that they were looking for. So I think we have one more meeting before Christmas and the New Year, so I'm looking forward to cake afterwards. Thank you.
Mike?
First of all, I want to give out my thoughts and prayers to Bonnie Tamman and family. Daryl was our city manager for many years, and he also sat on council here for us, so he dedicated a lot to the city of Grand Haven, so my thoughts and prayers go out to them. Yeah, and also, we all spent a Friday ringing the bell for the Salvation Army down there. I remember seeing you down there. And it was very rewarding to see the generosity of our youth. I could not believe, these kids are going into Fortino's and they come out with just the change they have. I'm talking 12, 14-year-olds, and pot for me here, and I was just amazed at what the youth today is. So there's a great future coming forward. I see it when I was down there. It was very giving. Talking about a giving community, that's Crusade for Toys. You sat up there and I sat up there. And I was trying to get there before Eric, but I think he got cold.
He got very cold.
But it was very rewarding to see people stop by and honk their horns and come in and turn around and come back and give, make a donation. So it was very, very good. Also, what else I want to say? Oh, just want to say we didn't get Verlander. He went to the Mets. I knew I had to say something. The Tigers did not get him back, so he's going to be with Scherzer.
Isn't he kind of old anyway?
3 Cy Young awards.
What
has he done for us lately?
But anyways, that's about all. I just want to say thank you to everybody in the community for all the donations that they've done and how they step up for everything in this town. So not just talking just Grand Haven, we're talking Spring Lake, Ferrysburg, Grand Haven Township, Robinson Township. This is a great place to be. So enjoy your next week. Christmas is coming.
All right.
And don't forget what December 7th is all about.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know, take a look. Go down in infamy.
Kevin?
Yeah, I happened to have the opportunity to sit on the roof with Eric Kalin from 12 to 2, and poor Ashley was out there from 12 to 4 collecting money, and it was cold. I don't know maybe you got there when it was warmer, but it was cold when we were up there. But it was a great event, to watch all the families stop and put the toys in the bags and so forth was, and I want to thank all the people that dropped off coffee and hot chocolate to us. That was very nice of them because it did get cold. Obviously, the Jingle Bell Parade was just outstanding. I had the opportunity to help Trevor in Public Works decorate our float. I spent an hour or so helping him decorate the float, so that was fun. We did Salvation Army at Fortino's. I also attended the Senattown meeting last Friday. That's a great group of merchants, just like we have on East End, and it's great that they all think alike. They really want to move their areas, and it's wonderful, this area. I want to thank Fire Marshal Turkelson and Lieutenant Hudson for attending those meetings. They showed up at 2 meetings in a row now, and I know, especially I know that they definitely want to continue that, and that's wonderful. It's great to reach out to the community like that. Kind of a sad closing of Jumpin' Java, but we're looking forward to the opening of Bad Habits in the next month and a half or so. That's it.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. I think I was involved in a number of the different things mentioned, but I'm not going to go through them again. I wanted to actually thank Mary Angel for the great Christmas card photograph she took and for taking care of the city's Christmas card. If you haven't gotten yours, it's probably in the mail, and it was a really pretty card this year, and I thought she did. I really appreciate the time and effort she takes to do a good job on that. And I actually wanted to just say to Joy how much we enjoyed her last Jingle Bell Parade. She says it's her last Jingle Bell Parade. My personal sense is she won't be able to stop herself and she'll be an elf next year, but maybe in a volunteer capacity. But Joy, thank you for the many years of Jingle Bell Parades that I've enjoyed, and whatever next Jingle Bell night brings you, I hope it's good. That's all I got. Ashley.
Just going to take one final moment for one last plug for the town hall meeting tomorrow. That'll be 6:30 to roughly 8:30, not tied to a time. But we have a really great presentation set for everybody, public included, from HDR. Anticipate that'll be about an hour and a half. The remaining time will be for question and answers, so residents and public alike can seek any clarification they might want on the process as far as how testing has been going, how remediation is looking, any question you might have. We'll have city staff as well as HDR, and we did get confirmation that Anne Marie Sanford, our environmental attorney, is able to attend tomorrow, so she'll be in attendance as well. So it'll be a great opportunity to meet all the players, the consultants. We'll have our timeline published. We'll have maps for where the testing wells are at. Just again, really great opportunity. It will be streamed, so you can also view it online if you're not able to attend in person.
Thanks, Ashley. Thanks. All right. Second call to the audience. At this time, members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address and will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to may call in at 616-935-3285. If it continues ringing, please remain on the line. We will take all callers tonight.
Hi, my name is Lori Sharkey Mulcahy. I'll make it really quick. Everybody left. I was part of the East End group as well, and so I just wanted to say thank you for your support. My great-grandparents owned Fricke Marina on the east side. I grew up next to the Musials, who own Clover Bar still, so the east side has been a really big part of my life. I don't think I gave my address, 1514 Sheldon Road. My husband and I own a business at 1445 Waverly, right across from Clover Bar, next to the former Oasis lot. So we're looking forward to improving there. And then my family also owns a business over by the airport, also on city property. So it's just great to see the East End kind of get some support, and we're ready to get started. I also wanted to say thank you. I'm a teacher at Central High School, and I know he's not here tonight, but Director Hawk gave us a great tour. I had a government class here a couple months ago. They sat in your seats. There was some candy. I don't think they took it, but they had a great experience. He did a great job. walking us through local government, gave us a little tour of the building, and it was really great. So I just wanted to kind of publicly thank him for his time. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
So Joy Gash, Chamber of Commerce, 1 South Harbor, 15195 Lakeshore Drive. I stuck around because I really wanted to thank you all for your support of the Jingle Bell Parade. And just to let you know that, in 22 years, we've exceeded this time every single expectation I had for that event. Karen, you're right. It was just fantastic, and it was magical because people really got into the spirit this year. Unfortunately, we have to limit the number of entries because it does meet itself coming and going, which can be just a little bit of a challenge, but I think everybody manages it really well and everybody really enjoys the parade. So the city's participation in making the lighting of the tree in Central Park is what I really want to thank you for. Because that was a vision that took a bit to pull together because there never was a tree there at one time. And we had the tree planted, and now I'm getting concerned because this is my last year to do the Jingle Bell Parade. The tree is getting pretty darn big. And, what's going to happen when it's kind of reached its full life. So somehow or other, we need to find a way to make sure that that tree gets replaced, and that always happens in Central Park because it really is that hallmark type of event that happens when the countdown occurs and the tree is lit. Wanted to thank you for that, and also for your support of the Beech Tree District. That has long been a passion of mine since I've been here as well. And with the new investment that's happening, it really kind of spurred on. We need incentives to help other people join in that activity, and we're seeing it happen, and it's really exciting. And I'm so pleased that people along that corridor are exciting. So thank you for your support of that as well.
Thank you, Joy.
Brian Urquhart, Zeeland, Michigan. As a parent of a 7, 4, and a 2-year-old, we took the trek up, and we really enjoyed the Jingle Bell Parade. So just want to accommodate that. It was cold. They survived the whole time, but it was worth it. So just kudos to that. We made the journey.
Thanks for bringing them, Brian.
Yep. Thank you.
Doug Vance, 100 Washington. Listening to the whole East Side group, I'm jealous. I've done a number of surveys talking to business owners downtown, and we do not have the camaraderie that they do, that they showed here. And when I say I'm jealous, I'm serious. I was thinking in my mind, what buildings are there that I could move the copper post to? Eliminate all my parking problems. Oh no, I wouldn't. But anyway, in the letter that I sent to you folks regarding the closing of Washington, one of the things that I mentioned there was when we first had the pandemic and everything started to develop and they were going to give us spots on the street and stuff, and I detailed that in my letter, so I won't go over the details of that now, except for the fact that we tried to set up on the sidewalk and we were denied. I still, to this day, do not know why other businesses downtown, now there's chairs and tables all over this sidewalk downtown. And I don't know if everybody gets approval for those or what, but I was never given the opportunity to get that approval. All I was told was, well, you can have this space and a half that we're going to move the barriers in on. I mean, we couldn't fit a table and chairs in there appropriately. I mean, we'd get 2 tables out there max. But I'm all for the sidewalk. Let's keep the street open and let's put people on the sidewalk. We had plenty of, I had it all bunched off. I think we had 8 tables out there, and they made me take it down. And to this day, I still don't know why. But that, to me, is the solution to keeping the vibrancy that we're all talking about down there without closing the street. And then, for the lady with the food truck, move that activity over to the nice grassy area where kids can play. You got the splash park over there already and stuff. you know, and make that a family-friendly area, not a alcohol-friendly area, and keep the alcohol where the alcohol is and keep the families where the families are, and then the food trucks can maybe make it successful there as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Okay, meeting's adjourned.